So the second question that we are looking at is an example that was tested in the pilot paper. So this was the paper that was piloted as a guide of what was done in December. So you'll find that this was a pilot paper for December 2022 pilot paper, and specifically we shall look at question number 23, pilot paper question number 23. You are the financial management consultant in an investment firm. A potential client requests you to analyze an investment with the following features. The cost of the investment is 10 million. The investment pays out a sum of X shillings at the end of the first year. This payout grows at the rate of 10% per year for 11 years. Required, if your discount rate is 15%, calculate the minimum value of X that will attract the investor to make the investment. And number 2, the respective NPVs of the investment if the discount rate were to range between 10% and 15%. Then assume that you have 3 projects scenario as outlined below. So you have scenario 1, 2, and 3, and the discount rate, the initial cost, the starting cash flow, and the growth in initial cash flow have been given there. Prepare detailed outcomes of the project under each of the 3 scenarios. So in our case, the first thing is to find the goal seek here, where we find the value of X, because the key thing is value of X, and we are told the cost is 10 million, and we don't know, we know the growth is 11, but here the investment will pay a sum of X shillings at the end of the first year. So because this was at the end of the first year and the payout grows at the rate of 10% per year for 11 years, so we shall be dealing with 12 years. So this one is question 23 on the pilot paper. Question 23, pilot paper. And write it here. Question 23 for the pilot paper. And I'll change this times new, and I'll use just a font 12 that way. So I shall have the year, year 1 up to 12, year 1, year 2, and I'll autofill that in that order. So this is year 2, just a minute. I can use this, right click, down one step, coming back one step, and release, and you use a series whereby we are dealing with a column and the step is 1, and we need to stop at 12, and you put OK. So it will autofill that to 12 years. Here we have our cash flows, and we don't know because that's what we are finding, but you can take any value because the goal seek, assuming we start with 1,000 and it is growing at the rate. I have here just the rate of growth, which is 10% according to the question. It is growing at 10% per year for the next 11 years. So 10% as our growth rate, 10%. So it means the second one, I will activate this. I'll take 1,000, I multiply by the rate, and the rate here is fixed, so I will lock the rate using F4, and I put enter. Just a minute, that's wrong. So it should be 1 plus, so it should be equals to 1,000 multiplied by, I will open the bracket, 1, because the growth plus the rate, and here I will lock the rate using F4, and I close the bracket. Just a minute. Okay, 1 plus this, and I lock that. I lock this using F4, and to the end I put a close and I put enter. So the reason for locking is that because these are constant, all the others will be growing at that particular rate, and I will autofill that to get my values for the next 11 years. And I did find the NPV under this category. Come and write NPV, and I will activate this cell is equals to NPV. I will tab for the NPV. NPV requires us to have a rate, so I've not written the discounting rate. Yeah, discounting rate, no, discounting rate. We are told in the question the discounting rate is 15%. 15% as our discounting rate. Yeah, 15%. So I'll come back here, activate this cell, NPV. I will tab. We need to start with the rate, and I'll put a comma, then the values. I'll highlight my values. All of the values. I'll close, and my initial, I did not write my initial, but initial cash outflow is 10 million here. I will less the initial of 10 million, and I minus, because that's an outflow, 10 million. 1 2 3 1 2 3, and I will enter. After that, I will find that it is giving me a negative, and it is a percentage. I'll first change this into value using general. So that's my NPV, which is negative 99. Yeah, 999. That is my value, and I will expand. Yeah, 9,991,000. But remember the goal when the question says that if the discount rate is 15%, calculate the minimum value of X that should attract the investor to make the investment. So the investor should be attracted if the project has an NPV which is greater than 0, either 0 or greater than 0. That is the only way we should be able to motivate the investor to be able to apply for this particular project, or for the investor to invest in this particular project. So what we shall do, we shall go back to our question, and we shall use the goal seek. In this case, I will go to data, go to what if analysis, goal seek, and my goal is to make this particular NPV. We need it to have a value of 0, and we need by changing which particular, the initial. Remember the initial amount that we're investing at the end of year 1, we don't know is how much. This is the value of X that we are calculating. So we need to change this value to get this value that will grow in order to arrive at an NPV which will be greater than 0 or 0 and above. So when I put OK, it will adjust that value, and automatically you get your values to 3 decimal place. And if I can highlight this, okay, if I can highlight these values, I put a comma and a home, 1000 separator. You can see now the value of X will be this particular amount that we need. So value of X can come here. So value of X will be equals to, so the value of X will be equals to this value, and I enter. That is it. And using the goal seek to get that value. We are done with the first part. When you look at the second part of the question, they are saying if the respective NPVs of the investment, so the respective NPVs of the investment, if the discounting rates were to range between 10% and 15%. So the discount ranges from 10 to 15, 10 up to 15. So this one is one data table. Yeah, so here respective NPVs can deal with it here as my Roman 2 here, respective NPVs. So here we shall have our rate. Our rate is starting from the lowest at 10% up to 15, 10, 11%, and you can autofill that. Just a minute. Okay, so let me just use this one. 10, 11, all of them will remain. Okay, so 11%, or I use this one for releasing. It's easy one. Use right click, down one, coming back, release. Use a series. You need a column for that. It's changing by 1%, and the stop value is 15%. It's just by the shortcut, and you put OK. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That is our rate that we have, and here we shall put the value that we have, which is equals to this one, and I enter the initial value that we had, and I will highlight this part. I will go again to data, whatever analysis, data table, and under the data table, the row input cell, so we don't have any row, but we have the column. The column input cell, the initial percentage that we had for the column, the initial was 15%, and I will put OK, and automatically it will calculate those NPVs that we have. You can see at 15% we had 0 as our NPV. So if it's at 10, this will be our NPVs that we shall be having. So that is the second part of that particular question number 23 for the pilot paper. And when you look at the third part of this question, assume that you have 3 project scenarios that as outlined below. So we have scenario 1, 2, and 3, and you have the discount rates. The discount rate of 15 can either be 15, 10, and we have the initial cost. In this case now they have given us the initial cost, and we have the starting cash flow, and we have the growth in the initial cash flow. So prepare detailed outcomes of the project under each of the above scenario. So for each scenario, now you calculate this detailed analysis. So you can start with scenario 1. Already we know the starting capital. So this is our Roman 3. Let me do Roman 3 here. My Roman 3. Roman 3. I'll start with scenario 1. My scenario 1. Scenario 1. I control bold. Scenario 1. So here we shall have year. Still there are 12 years. 1, 2, 3, in that order. So I'll just use this. So it's a series, and the stop value is 12. These are column values, 1 to 12. We have the cash flow. And for the cash flow here, we are told we are starting our cash flow with the starting scenario 1. The discount rate is 15, the initial is 10, the starting cash flow is 1.5, and the growth in initial is 10. It's like the previous question that we had. So we are starting here with 1.5. Our rate, growth rate, and the discount rate. Our growth rate was what we had here. Our growth rate was 10, and our discount rate here is what we had here, 15. And our IO, initial cost is 10 million. 10 million. 10 million. 10 million. can separate that, 10 million that way. So that means here we shall have is equals to this value is the one that will grow multiplied by, open the bracket, 1 plus the growth rate, and the growth rate I will lock it using F4, and I will close the bracket at the end and I enter. That's what will grow, and I will autofill that way, and I can use the 1000 separator for it to look good with 2 decimal. So my NPV at that particular scenario 1 will be is equals to NPV. I will tab that. So my rate is discounting rate is 15. I will put a comma. I select my values here, all the values that way. I will close that particular bracket, and I will minus the initial cost, and I will put enter that way. So this is my scenario 1. Can use that, and this is my NPV under scenario 1. So I can copy the same value here. You copy that, you create it here, plus the formulas there. So this will be our scenario 2. Scenario 2, make it bold, and you'll find that now here our discount rate will be different, and our growth rate again will be different. So for the discount rate, we are told in scenario 2 the discount rate is 10%, and our starting is 2, and our discount initial growth rate is 8. So 10 as our discount rate is 10%, and our growth rate is 8%, and our initial outlay or initial cost in this case, we had an initial cost of, is it 15? Yeah, initial cost of 15 with the starting capital of, starting cash flow of 2, so 15 million, 1 2 3, and here now we are starting with 2 million, starting with 2 million that way. So when you come to the second one, now we are growing with this part, the part for the growth. Our growth rate is this, and we lock that using F4, and the figure that is growing is J34. That one is okay. J34 is the one that will grow, and I will enter that, and I will autofill all of that, and already it has changed my NPV. My NPV will be wrong, so my NPV in this case will be equals to NPV. I will tab that, my rate, just a minute. My discount rate was 10%, my growth rate was 8%, hoping it captured the right values. Okay, that way. so that this will be NPV. I'll tab that. My rate is 10, my discount rate, my values. I close the bracket and I minus the initial outlay of 150 and I enter. I convert this one to general, it's not a percentage, general, and these values I use a 1000 separator that way. So under scenario 2, under the second scenario, under scenario 2, our NPV under scenario 2 is 6 million. Under scenario 2, NPV is 6 million. Okay, cement, cut and paste on this. Okay, that way. Then we have scenario 3. Scenario 3, because supposed to calculate the 3 scenarios. Scenario 3, let me just do it here. My scenario 3, I will copy this, I come and paste it here with formulas. This is my scenario 3. I'll bold this and I bold this. In my scenario I'll bold it. I'll merge that, and our discounting rate, in this case discount rate, and our growth rate, and our initial cost, So our growth rate, in this question we have a growth rate, scenario 3, growth rate of 7, discount of 13, 7 and 13, 7%. Growth rate is 7% and discount is 13%, and our initial cost, our initial cost is 20 million in this case. 20 million. 23, yeah, that way. So in this case our starting cash flow is starting at 4 million. So this one will be 4 million that way, and you'll find that all the others already they have changed, but they have changed with 10%. So I will change this, and 33, yeah, that one is okay. Now it has picked the growth rate of 10%, so I need to change this growth rate to be 13%, and I'll auto-lock that using F4. Yeah, that way. That one now is okay. And after that our NPV, therefore G33. So in this case the discount rate will be, sorry, we just start this NPV. I'll tab that my rate is 7, our cash flow, I close that, and I minus the ratio, should be 20 in this case. We change that from percentage into a number, and I use a 1000 separator for it to look good. Use a different color to illustrate that. Yeah, that way. Those are our how you find the NPV for the 3 scenario 1, scenario 2, and scenario 3. I will show you how to apply the scenario manager when calculating this. Now is a way you can use the scenario manager and be able to calculate this and be able to fit them in one particular table that will show all the 3 scenarios at once. And that's all. That's the longer method. That is for the beginners, that you know how to find that using the goal seek and using the scenario manager. Thank you.